had like such a big crush on this guy when I came to California.
What? You were getting a lot of media requests, weren't you?
Yes, but they had like a battle going.
How does that work exactly? And man, I would love to meet a girl like that. That is the piece of paper that I actually used 11 years ago.
And I feel like, yeah, truly our relationship just went to like a whole different level of depth.
And then you go on Larry King.
You could tell I was just like about to lose it because it was so sweet.
Am I not complimenting you enough? 10 years later, with 2 kids, a very busy, full season of life. Let's do a collective deep breath as we start. Feels nice. Hello, friends. It's Jason and Lauren Kennedy here. Welcome to episode 3. We won't be doing couples counseling this time. We will be talking about trauma. We will be talking about healing from trauma and how to move forward from trauma in a healthy way. I am not a trauma expert. Maybe you are. You've been through quite a lot. And some of you watching know our story. Some have no clue who we are. If that's the case, I really appreciate you listening. For those that do know us, thank you for spending time with us. We started episode 1 doing couples counseling with Angie, our therapist, because we couldn't stop fighting. That wasn't just a headline that we decided to plaster on top of a YouTube video. It was a real thing. We have a 3-year-old, we have an almost 2-year-old, and we are in the middle of a season where we feel like we're kind of going back and forth. We're going to pause from that and still talk about marriage and how to have a healthy marriage, and we're just trying to figure it out. We're not counselors by any means. We just want to live in cohesion and get along and do this life together in a healthy way. But I think a lot goes back to your past, your pain, your trauma, a word you've heard so many times. My wife and I have a very interesting story. When we're out to dinner and people go, "Oh, how'd you meet? How'd you guys meet? What's your story?" It's one of those where you go, wow, this is truly, it's not normal. Some would call it a miracle. Whatever you want to label it as, it's a special story. Would you like to tell the story, Lo? I don't want to talk the whole time.
I always pass it on over to Jace when someone asks me that, except the other day I did say, we just met through a mutual friend.
Oh, because you just didn't feel like getting into it?
No.
Yeah, it takes a good 5-ish minutes, depending on the details, if someone asks what the story is. But are you kind of feeling the same way right now? Remember, in a podcast setting, you kind of need to, you got to be talking.
Okay.
You feel like talking today?
Sure.
I'm not making you do this.
Okay, I'll talk. So I have to do the math in my head. 1 second. Okay, it will be 14 years this December. I was in a small aircraft accident where I was hit by a plane propeller of a Cessna 2-seater plane. And just going up, looking at Christmas lights with the pilot, just 2 of us in the plane. It was just small. And then someone was getting on after me. I got out how I had gotten out several other times before. The plane was still on because someone was getting on after me. So I was hit by the plane propeller because there's just very little space in between where you get out and the propeller. So that night I suffered many injuries, and basically like aerial accidents are immediately public. So my story just went national the night of. And I think that's because I was in the middle of doing Fashion Week reporting and starting blogging before, just at the very beginning of blogging, truly. I knew like 2 other blogs at the time that were out, which is just crazy to think about. So I think it was just a fascinating story of, what I was doing and then what had happened. And then that's how you found out about it, I'm guessing.
Yes, it was, from my perspective, much, much different. I was sitting at my cubicle. I was hosting a show called E! News. I went on TMZ.com and it said model walks into plane propeller, loses arm and eye. And immediately I said to myself, that is not a story that I've ever seen or heard before. How does this happen? Is she okay? What is the story here? So we start through the course of time, reporting on this story on E. I remember trying to reach out to someone who was a family spokesperson at the time. Hey, would love to talk to Lauren when she's fully healed about this incredible story. Would love to document her journey into recovery, that type of thing. Never heard back. I think I probably sent another email, but never really was super pushy with it. But through the milestones of you getting better, we covered it on E! News. And then a lot of time passed. Let's call it almost a year. Juliana Rancic, my best friend and co-host at the time, said, hey, remember Lauren Kennedy? And I said, well, excuse me, her name is Lauren Scruggs. Remember Lauren Scruggs? I haven't said Scruggs in a while. I said, yeah, of course. Whatever happened with that story? I tried to get that interview. She's like, well, I got the interview. I'm like, what?
Babe, let me tell you one thing.
What?
You're getting the interview now.
Thank you so much. I waited, how long?
Thank you for your
14 years? God bless. And I said, yeah, absolutely. And she's like, I'm going to the Peninsula Hotel in Beverly Hills, California to interview Lauren. And I'm thinking about bringing her back here to the studio when I'm done to meet you. Not just like to set you up or anything. It was nothing like that. It was just, hey, I know there was interest in the story. Would you like to meet Lauren? And I said, absolutely. So you take it from there. You meet Juliana at the Peninsula Hotel and what?
So yeah, I did. Well, so she reached out to me about a month after my accident on Twitter. And it was so crazy because she doesn't remember this, and we've talked about this, but I met her that last September at Fashion Week, and she was just, you know me, I don't know who many people are.
You don't, unless it's characters from Friends.
Right.
Other than that, no clue.
No clue.
She's not a Hollywood type.
I mean, I know Brad Pitt. I know those people.
Yeah, he's known.
But anyways, I just remember really respecting her as a woman in just the corporate industry and like what she did and how she represented her family, and then just how she did life. And she and Bill had the reality show at the moment, and I had been watching that. And anyways, so I remember seeing her, and we were in the elevator together at the same hotel. And so I just like said hi briefly. So I remembered that. And then she ended up reaching out, and I was like, that is so interesting. And we became really close. She was really vulnerable with me about her breast cancer, which she had just got diagnosed with at that Fashion Week, hadn't told anybody. So she was just in a total daze, and is what she shared with me later. And she was having a double mastectomy and told her husband, Bill, I want to reach out to her. And she was watching my story on the Today Show and just saying, I want to reach out to her and let her know there's so much hope and so much ahead for her in her life. And so anyways, she was really vulnerable with me about her struggles and her experience and with breast cancer. And I was really open with her about my journey. And she asked me about a year later, hey, do you want to come out here and I'd love to interview you? And I said, that would be awesome. Yeah. And I had done just a few interviews before that. I feel like we picked and chose because
you were getting a lot of media requests, weren't you?
Yes.
How'd you decide?
Well, you mean like between ABC and NBC?
Yeah. Well, there's more than just ABC and NBC probably, right?
Yeah, but they had like a battle going.
How does that work exactly?
They would just send different gifts and cards and invitations and stuff like that.
Yeah, because you're not
with a proposal.
They're not allowed to pay for interviews.
Right.
But they sent you like really nice, sweet things.
Yes, I remember. Is it Ann Curry? No.
Well, that's a real person, Ann Curry. This is my wheelhouse now.
With ABC? Was she with ABC at that time? 2011?
No, Ann Curry was probably on the Today Show at that time.
Oh, shoot. It wasn't her.
See what I'm talking about?
Gosh, wait.
Unless it's Joey or Chandler, we just... Either way.
Okay, yeah, whatever. But she sent me like vegan food, like really healthy food, and, you know, like the sweetest note. And
Was it Katie Couric?
No, because I ended up
She
doing
was
an
in the
interview
mix.
with her.
I know you did an interview with Katie Couric.
But she had her own show at the time.
Yeah, that's right.
So, wait. Oh my gosh.
It's okay.
That is so annoying.
We're all getting older.
It doesn't matter. But anyways, yeah. So she sent me all this like healthy stuff, and because she knew I loved healthy living and all of that. And then,
It's a good tactic to get an interview.
yeah. And then NBC sent an invitation to the Olympics in London, 2012. And it would be like my first interview, and they would fly my whole family, cover all amenities, everything like that.
And you decided to go with NBC. And I remember seeing you on the Today Show. And I also remember seeing you on Dateline. You did a sit down with Natalie Morales. And it was a Friday night. And this is before, I know we're kind of jumping back and forth, but this is before I met you in the studio with Juliana. And I said, man, I would love to meet a girl like that, because I could tell you were still fully in recovery and just processing the accident. But there was something about you, and it wasn't like this, love at first sight. But I'm like, man, she seems really, really awesome. She seems special. And then lo and behold, I don't remember. Lo and behold, I don't know if it was days, weeks later. That's when this whole story with Juliana, happened. So, long story longer, you're doing the interview with Juliana. You come back to the studio, and it wasn't like. It was like, hey, how are you? And I remember you said a couple things that you enjoyed, and I wrote down things that I enjoyed in the city. And I think you said your dad was into watches. So I said, you got to go to this watch place. If you guys like hiking, I know you're fit and you like healthy stuff, go to Franklin Canyon instead of Fryman Canyon, because Franklin
Instead of
Runyon. Yeah. Runyon's kind of like this really cliche hiking spot in LA that people like put on makeup before they go running and stuff. But I was like, go to Franklin Canyon. It's way better.
And you said, my really good friend and I are going hiking tomorrow. If you want to go, I'm just going to put my number right here and text me.
Right. Okay. And then
Have the piece of paper framed.
we do. I was going to maybe have DJ bring it over. DJ, you see that piece of paper over there next to the lamp? It's framed straight
like up
ahead.
on the wall?
Yeah, up on the wall to the left. Yes. If that comes off, bring that over here. And then I said, if you want to get a good Eggs Benedict, go to the Beverly Hills Hotel. Now be careful, because my cell phone number is at the bottom of that. Do you want me to hold it up?
I'll use that little arm to cover
That
it
is the piece of paper that I actually used 11 years ago to write. Here, play to that one right there. And I said, these are the fun things. Look, Franklin Canyon off Coldwater in Beverly Hills, enter off of Tree People or Mulholland. And then I said, Beverly Hills Hotel, coffee shop, or out by the pool, Eggs Benedict. And then I said, Ritmo Watches is this watch place. And then I said, Jason's Cell, which is still my cell phone number today. And
A in this.
and apparently you saved that piece of paper. You text me later that day and you said, my mom and I actually are going to go hiking. And I said, well, my friend and I are going to go hiking. Why don't you join us?
No, I remember you saying, text me if you want to come, because I am from Texas, and
Yes.
I truly have that Southern mentality where I would text my guy friends and stuff all the time. But if I don't know, it just was not in me to text a guy first, which is so old school, I know.
You're a Southern lady.
I'm a Southern lady. And I remember getting up with my mom, and we were like, should we text? Or we were like, let's go to breakfast. No, sorry. We were like, let's go hiking. And it was so foggy and kind of chilly. And we're like, maybe let's eat breakfast first. So we go to a breakfast place, and we're sitting there, and I'm like, do you think we should text Jason? And I didn't know his, routine at the time, but at that time he would wake up at like 11 a.m.
Yeah.
on
That's a
weekends.
Saturday.
Yep.
I could sleep with the best of them.
You
I
really
love
could.
sleeping in.
Yes. And anyway, so I ended up texting you, and you responded like when you woke up, which was so funny. But which is perfect, because we were just finishing up breakfast, and then we went and met you and Rye.
That's right. And my friend Ryan was with us, and I thought it was a great hike. And we saw a baby rattlesnake. And
But what was interesting too is we had your home address, but we thought we were meeting at the beginning or like at the start of the hike.
right.
But there was no service down there, so you gave us your home address. And
You came to my house, you and your mom.
Yeah. And we're driving up to your house and we're like, wow, is this smart? We're like, we'll see if he's a trustworthy one.
You think I was a serial killer? Yeah, you came to the house and then we went hiking, and it was great. I got to catch up with your mom and get to know her more. And I remember kind of switching back and forth. So I'd run with you for a little bit, run with your mom. I remember your mom saying to me, "We can't run too fast because I might pee my pants." And I was like, okay, that's Cheryl Scruggs, ladies and gentlemen. Getting to know her very deeply and intimately.
Pelvic floor issues after
pelvic
twins.
floor issues after just a couple minutes of knowing her. And after the hike, you guys left. It was cool. My friend Ryan looks at me and I'm like, "Are you crying right now?" And he goes, if you know my friend Ryan, he is such an interesting human. There's no one quite like him.
He's an angel.
He's so sweet. And he's like, sorry, I just feel like she would be perfect for you. And I'm like, really? Okay. And he felt something. He felt something. Aww. Ben, you coming over here? You coming over here, buddy? Have a seat, Angel. Right there. He can't choose between
Velcro puppy.
If you're just listening and not watching, our dog Benny is our number one. He's our firstborn, as we say. And he just decided to sit in between us. But Ryan starts crying a little bit, and I'm like, wow. And I think you and I were just texting and stuff, and we would FaceTime here and there, and it made no sense whatsoever for me to date a girl from Dallas, Texas. I was doing E! News at the time. I was doing the Today Show. I was going back and forth every other week.
Also, I had like such a big crush on this guy when I came to California.
What?
To the point where I told my mom in the car, I'm like, I am so sorry. I am in my own world. Like, and it was one of the guys I did rehab with at Athletes Performance. Some of y'all may know that. It's Exos now. But just with like minor, major baseball, football players. And they became like my big brothers. And, there were crushes. It was like a really amazing experience for just confidence building, to be honest.
There were crushes. That was
it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
You said there were crushes.
And then I had nothing else. So I just
Okay, got it. I just wanted to make sure there was nothing that I haven't heard. Sometimes when you retell the story, you go, "Oh, wow, I missed that."
No, they were just like they became some of my closest friends, and just, they were so amazing with me just as I was recovering and then just doing life together. Like, they were the best. So I had this crush on this guy. So I remember when Juliana asked me, like, "Do you know Jason Kennedy?" And you know me, I don't know people. So I was like, that sounds familiar.
Did you think she was talking about Jamie Kennedy?
No.
From Malibu's Most Wanted, the comedian?
Do you think I would have known that guy?
Probably not. Yeah, good point.
And so anyways, I didn't have any thought of like, oh, this guy could be cute. That wasn't my thought at all. Or like, I could like this guy, which I think made it better for both of us because we were just like interacting like we would normally with a human. We weren't trying to like impress each other.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I think so. I think that's accurate.
And sorry, I took a rabbit trail like a woman does. Where were we?
I don't know. No, we were just talking about how after that moment, it made no sense to date.
Yeah.
I was every other week going to New York. I was almost getting sick. I was working so much. I just couldn't catch up. My body was tired, but everything about it felt right. Definitely prayed about the situation. And I flew you out to LA for Valentine's Day, right?
Well, it's funny too. I remember before that you were doing, I think that week with the Today Show. And I remember I lived with my best friend and it was just the best. And I remember she was home and my phone started ringing and it was you and you had never like FaceTimed me yet. It was the first time. And I was like, he is calling me. I was like, oh my gosh.
Really?
And then I answered it and you were sharing how you were nervous and how you went to talk to a friend to just get encouragement because you were,
I'd get really nervous to do the Today Show back then because that was my dream. And even though I had been on TV a long time at that point, I still got nervous to do the Today Show.
Yeah.
And I would get really in my head about it.
But you were being vulnerable.
And you like that?
Yeah.
Was I shirtless on the FaceTime?
Shockingly, no. I think though, I don't know, that was like, I think to like a girl that means a lot. or shall I say a woman?
Whatever you want to say, man.
But yeah, I don't know. That was so sweet. And then I think from that point on is when you started being like a lot more consistent with like pursuing a relationship with me.
And then you came out to visit. And I think that was the trip where I was doing, Hoda and Kathy Lee were in LA and it was like a big show. And I was like, why don't you come to that? I'm going to do a hit for them. And I did like a little segment. And then we went running on the beach and there were like dolphins. And I was like, yeah, I paid them, to do that.
Point Doom. And we were the only ones at the top. And I was like, hello?
You thought I was going to kiss you that early?
That would kind of be a normal thing.
At 11 a.m. on a Tuesday?
Of course.
Interesting. Okay.
I mean, nothing crazy, just a little.
I knew you were a Southern gal and I just wanted to be respectful of that. And I just wanted to at least show you some of the cool spots in town before, we Frenched.
I think it was because you dated a girl that was like super.
Let's not bring her into this.
Not like that. So I think you're used to.
It wasn't meant to be. She's got a family now. She's doing great.
She seems precious.
She was great. Just not for me. And I wasn't for her. But after that, it became clear that we were going to date and be boyfriend and girlfriend, and you leaving Dallas was a big deal. And I remember well, first of all, I thought that trip's going to tell me a lot because you only know someone to a certain extent when you're just talking on the phone. And when I came there, I just saw church on Wednesday nights and you leading that. And I met so many of your friends. You had like 100 friends. I did the announcements. I never led it, but okay.
No, but like leading it like.
I'd invite people to church, yeah.
But just doing like the announcements, whatever, all that stuff. And then Jason is a major extrovert, so I met a ton of friends, but it was so fun and everyone was so sweet and inviting, and I just saw like who he really was. It was just proof of who he really was. And so I thought, okay, this is like, he is amazing. And then I invited you out for Easter and kind of did the same type thing with you in Dallas. And I have some pretty strict people around me, friends that are very protective of me. And they were like, we like this guy.
She brings me to a family dinner with extended family, and it's like 15 of us at a long table. And it's like Tony Romo and like all these like legendary people in Dallas who were a part of your family. And I was very intimidated. And
Were you really?
I think I felt good in the moment, but I was a little intimidating, I would say. I felt like, I have to remind myself, just be yourself.
Oh,
be yourself,
So cute.
But I did probably have some questions in my head before. Sometimes if I feel nervous in a situation, I have some talking points ready to go that I don't remember what the talking points.
That breaks my heart.
What if I had a piece of paper and I'm like, these are the talking points?
Like,
Should we frame this? Yeah. But after that, I just knew that it was clear that we were going to date, but it was important for me to be very serious about it because I was going to uproot you from Dallas, Texas, which at the time was like, wow, I mean, this is a big deal, and bring you to California, propose, got married, and here we are 10 years later with 2 kids, a very busy, full season of life. I think we can shelve the story right there and pick up on why this episode is so important, because I feel like I don't ask you enough. What's the lasting impact of your accident? What are some of the lasting things that you go through? Lasting impressions is probably the easier way of saying it. What are some of the lasting impressions of your accident that maybe you and I don't talk enough about? Because, it's easy to recap a story, but this was a very traumatic accident. I remember hearing the 911 tape, which you still to this day have not heard, right?
Yeah, I did.
You did listen to it. Interesting. Okay. I played it. It was everything you would think it would be in a traumatic situation like that. Losing an arm, losing an eye, a brain injury where you just should not be here right now. That is a fact. And I think you carry yourself so well and you never complain. You sometimes, say, my eye, because it gets dry and stuff, but you never complain. What are some of those lasting impressions that maybe I don't talk to you enough about that you feel like you still struggle with?
That's so nice. I think, it's interesting after 14 years too, how it just becomes a part of you. So it's sometimes like, I don't even address it probably with myself. It's like, I know subconsciously what's going on, but I think it is good to talk about sometimes. I would say, well, losing a hand, first of all, the doctors that were so amazing and like my continued family, told me that losing a hand is equivalent to losing a sibling. So I feel like there is like grief is not linear. And so you are just kind of constantly going through different stages of that in different times of life. Even the other day, you and I went to coffee and I like didn't even realize I was zoned out on this girl typing with both of her hands. And I was like, wow. And I like didn't even realize I was doing that. And then you brought up a note about the podcast and I was like, whoa, I was just in that moment where I was zoning out on that girl, just amazed that she had both hands. And like, clearly I see people with two hands like all day long, every day. But there are just certain times where it like hits differently. So I would say,
How often does that happen where you think like that?
Maybe like once every couple weeks.
Okay.
Not a ton.
And you lost essentially two siblings that day.
I don't know what the eye is equivalent to, but maybe. But I would say with my eye, just that's like kind of where my insecurity lies. I feel like it was with my arm for years until I really worked through that. And people around me that have lost one hand or any limb of any sort or were born without have like helped me through that process. But I remember in Idaho, we were going back to Dallas for like a week and I was like, okay, I'm going to send my swim arm and my summer prosthetic arm to get touched up a little bit in Dallas when I'm there. Cause obviously my family sees me all the time and my friends in Dallas, like I don't care.
What does it mean to touch your arm up?
Like, just like the custom skin on my arm, you just have to get touched up every now and then, after about a year or so. And for some reason, FedEx would not release my arm to the place that I get my arm touched up at. And they're like a small family and they're like my family. And they're like, we do not know what's going on. We're about to go over there being like, can I please have her arm? Like, what are you doing? And so anyways, it took a while to get it to the place. Usually it's like next day it's there easy. And I remember going back to Idaho thinking it's the middle of summer. It's hot. I am such a lake girl. I'm a water person. Love the sun. And I was like, I can either hide and like stay inside or wear a long sleeve in the summertime and cover up my arm, or I can be who I am and kind of face my fear and just not have a prosthetic arm on my arm. And I did that. And I just feel like the freedom that brought me, and even friends that we were with on the boat, they were just like, wait, this is amazing. And they like were asking me questions and stuff like that. And I just, but not like weird, just they were just being like, this
chill
is
about
you.
it. Yeah.
Yeah. And I just realized, I mean, it was my own process. It was like, of feeling comfortable doing that. But I feel like there was that aspect of it, but my eyes brought the most insecurity because just like my face doesn't look the same as before. And I feel like I did a lot of like aesthetic focused things. So
fat transfers and stuff, right? Most recently, right? In the past year.
Or I mean, sorry, like before my accident, did like fashion week, was doing blogging, was doing pictures, all those things. So it's like, that was a big part of my life. And so yeah, it's like tough to have that change. I think the craziest part was my head being half shaved, and I just love my hair so much. So that was like wild. And yeah, just understanding how to live life a little differently with one arm, and then the traumatic brain injury. It's so crazy because I don't remember a lot of the like, I don't remember the things doctors told us or anything like that. So my family will remind me, and my best friend will too. And we were in a recent conversation, and I got a little dysregulated, and I was talking to my sister and my best friend about it. And they were like, hey, Lola, you got to remember, like, your like frontal lobes are damaged. Like, they said your brain, healed 99% of the way, but they weren't sure like how you could handle really extreme emotional environments and like how you can navigate those well. Like, you might not ever be able to. You might be able to. I don't know. And that's not discounting real emotions, and like we all get dysregulated by certain things, but I think that was a reminder too, because I feel like I've just gotten so much back to life that I like don't think about those impacts. And then even the paperwork I got for this guy doing body work with me, my paperwork was like so thick from the hospital, and I was reading through it as if it was someone else's story, and I was like, what? And I'm like, okay.
I remember that night we were in the kitchen, and this thing was just thick. It was a stack of paperwork, and you were reliving what you went through.
Yeah, and I think it was like a good time for me to do that because I've done so much therapy and, have like talked about it so much. But it's like pretty humbling because I'm like, whoa, okay, I had a broken jaw. I had 2 of my spinal cord things like broken. I knew a lot of ribs were broken. Yeah, just so many things, jaw fractures. Obviously, I know my clavicle, under my eye, there's like a, whatever you call it, metal plate thing there. Yeah, there's just so many things like indentions in my head I feel like are such a big, it's like an insecurity. And the other day I was thinking like, if I saw that on someone else, I'd be like, that's so sick. I was like, you freaking.
In a good way.
Yeah. So amazing. I was like, this like represents something so incredible. But sometimes you just don't want to be looked at. So I guess that's part of it too, because people look out of just curiosity, which is totally okay. Like, I'm not sensitive to that, but sometimes you just want to live.
We were in Nashville last week, and we got some IV drips because we were feeling under the weather. And before you do the IV drip, a nurse has to come on FaceTime and ask you a bunch of questions. And we were all in the same room, and she's like, do you have any recent surgeries? And I'm like, no, I'm good. Yep, done this before. And then Lo goes, have you had any surgeries in the past? And then she starts doing this laundry list. And it's like, and then I had a traumatic brain injury, and then I broke my clavicle, and then I broke my knot. And people were like, oh my gosh, because we almost have become so used to hearing this story. But it is quite serious, and it is something that has changed your life forever. And we always would say, if that accident didn't happen, we never would have met each other. So I'm very thankful. Your worst day was my best day. But there are still these beautiful moments. Come on up, Benny. There are still these beautiful moments in life where even last week at the IV place, the girl who was the nurse there helping us out, she goes, she sees your arm. Oh, look. And she had a little, we call your little arm Bior. And she was right there, and she was like, meat grinder. Lost my arm in a meat grinder. I'm like, oh my gosh. And it just opens up immediately this deep personal connection with other people. What are those interactions like for you day to day? Because you also met a little boy that trip too. That was just like, you came home and you're like, wait till I tell you this story.
It was so sweet. My sister and I were walking around Franklin, Tennessee, and we were in anthropology, and we're just like walking around. I see the cutest little family, and this little boy didn't notice anything. And then we're about to walk down the stairs in the store, and the dad, it was so cute. And he was like, do you mind if I introduce my son to you? And I was thinking, they didn't tell me why. And I was thinking, okay, he's missing a limb. And so I'm like, he's walking over, the little boy's like probably 5. And I'm just like looking at his, like, what is he missing? And he had 2 fingers on his hand, literally the cutest thing I've ever seen. Like, he was so precious. He calls it his Lucky Fin, which is also an amazing organization.
His Lucky Fin.
Yeah.
That's their organization?
It's an organization that's so amazing for people that have lost, like Lucky kids
Fin. Check
that have
that
lost.
Out. That sounds cool.
I know, he's so sweet. But my sister was with me, and we were just talking, and he was like, I was like, I know, it's pretty cool. I can use my arm to like hold these shopping bags. And he was like, hold on 1 second. And he went and got his mom's hangers that she had just picked up certain clothes she wanted to try on and put him on his arm and then like whipped it back to his like full arm, like from his like fingers to his arm. And I was like, that is amazing. And it was just so sweet. And then he asked me something and I like, my sister ended up answering for me because she could tell I was just like about to lose it because it was so sweet. Because he was like the most confident little boy and it just was, I love those moments.
Why do you think it makes you emotional?
I don't know. I mean, I think it's just something you can feel, like no one else can feel that feeling unless you've, unless you're missing a limb. And it's just like a thing, you just have this like crazy bond. And then just to see like a little boy and then me having River, just like, I don't know, I could just see his joy and his confidence. And that's like inspiring to me, but also just like, I'm so happy for him. I think it's just so sweet.
What's cool for me is I remember the first time you showed me Bior, your little arm. We were in Mexico and we had been dating for a while and you still were wearing your prosthetic. And finally your sister and I were like, it's time. It's time. I want to see your little arm.
Yeah.
And once we had that moment, it was time that it took for other people, friends of mine and ours, for you to have that moment with them as well. And then you go on Larry King and you have this incredible moment that was also like something I'll never forget. And so many people still come up to me and talk to me. And he's like, take your arm off right now. And you showed Bior on national TV. And it's cool to see the timeline of the Mexico trip, seeing it for the first time, to the Larry King moments, to being in Franklin, Tennessee, meeting this sweet little boy and this nurse, and seeing the stories and what you've been able to do through that. It's pretty special.
Well, in Mexico, I remember, my sister was like, it had been a year into us dating. She was like, Lo, come on. It's been enough time. And I was like, will you come with me while I show him?
You kept holding it with your other hand. Like you wouldn't let me see it. I'm like, let me see your little arm.
No, but Birdie was like, no. Or no, I said, can Birdie come with me? And you said, no, this is between you and I. And let's go in the other room. And we like went in the other room and I was, like trying to cover up my arm. And you were like, let me just hold your hand. And then you're like, we're just going to sit here and relax and like hang out. And then you were like, I love this arm more than your other arm. And I feel like, truly our relationship just went to like a whole different level of depth after that, or just like acceptance and feeling, accepted for like who I was. And then I showed you my eye without an eye.
I remember that. I was like, you look like Fetty Wap.
Literally. That's so true.
You look like Fetty Wap. Rock it,
Yeah, but it's just so vulnerable. But back to the hand thing, I feel like with your friends, I had never showed anybody. And so that was like, when you don't know someone's name, but you're around them all the time and you're like, well, now it's way too late to ask them what their name is. Like, that's embarrassing. And I feel like I was at that point where I just waited too long to not show them my arm. So then all of a sudden I'm just going to have my arm out. And I don't know, it just felt weird. And it truly took me having kids to just stop caring.
What do you think happened?
I think I realized like it's more difficult to wear my prosthetic arm and care for my babies, or River at the time, especially our first baby, to like hold him and do what I needed to do. It was just harder with a prosthetic arm on, and I still wear it at certain points, when we're like going to do something. But I think you just realize life is so much bigger than you. And you're just like, why do I care? These kids like put everything into perspective for me and they're so important. And like, what am I like ashamed of my arm? Like, this is me. This is my story. And I think that goes with any insecurity. I think about that with my eye, with my head, anyone. Like if you didn't like your legs for a while or whatever, but it's like you have one life. Everyone is insecure to some degree. So we're going to take that one thing and be so worried about it that we want to hide who we are. That is just not a life to live.
You literally just answered my next question, because you say that all the time to me, or I hear you say it to other people. You have one life. This is your one life. There are a lot of people watching right now. They haven't lost limbs. Some have, but there are deep insecurities.
Yeah.
We all have them.
Yeah.
They probably aren't in the stage you are now. Maybe they're still in the Mexico stage of afraid to show other people and truly be vulnerable. Dig into that a little more. How can you encourage them to move to that next step?
Well, I feel like, so Bethany Hamilton and I, she lost her arm in a shark accident.
Soul Server.
We became really good friends soon after my accident. I remember my dad saying, "What do you need today?" And I was like, "I just want to meet Bethany," because she's like the only girl that's my age that understands this process. So we became like close really fast, and we started this retreat for girls that specifically at the time had lost hands or arms, because that was like the community we knew. And then it's grown into legs and all that. But when we're all together, no one has any shame, no shame at all. From the second we all see each other, there are prosthetic arms laying everywhere, or people aren't wearing their arms. Like, just no one cares. Everyone's just who they are, not even a thought about it.
And a lot of these girls, I should mention, have lost limbs months prior. I mean, these are new injuries, a lot of insecurity.
Yep. So I think of that as like, we all have the same thing going on, like all different stories, but it's the same outcome in a way, like a loss of something like that. So like, we're not insecure around each other at all, not even a thought. So I'm like thinking to myself, we as humans each have an insecurity, so we should just unite with that rather than like we're all trying to hide something. I guarantee you we could all name one thing that we're insecure about that we don't want people to see or notice. And it's like, that's so sad if we're so worried about that. And it's like keeping us from living our life to the fullest. Actually, Juliana told me this and I'll never forget it. She was like, when you are on your deathbed, are you going to think, I am so glad I, hid my arm for years? She didn't say that specifically, but just whatever your insecurity is. No, you're going to be thinking about like amazing memories, your friendships, all those things, and your family, like those little things that you're not going to be thinking about before you die. They just like, we should work hard to just like actually live in your fear. I think that's what's helpful. Is I still feel insecure many times about my arm a week. And I'm like out and about and I'm just like, I have to remind myself, like, this is who I am. Also, like, who cares? Like, who cares what people think?
Who gives an ish?
And people probably don't think anything. Or people think like they're curious about it.
We're the ones overthinking it. One of my favorite questions to ask, you can steal this, guys. I wasn't going to say it, but it kind of seems unique and I like doing it. But if it's a new group of people, we'll be at dinner. And if we're trying to get to know people better, I'll say, all right, everybody go around. What's your biggest insecurity? Yep. That's my icebreaker question.
Yeah.
We did it not too long ago at dinner with some friends, and it took us to another level within 15 minutes.
Oh my gosh. Like
tears, full on tears.
Yeah.
I haven't even ordered a shrimp scampi yet. And we got people crying.
So true.
Try it. I think it's special because it reminds you that we are so much more similar than we are different. And you really can get to know someone and connect with them on a deeper level. You say there's a fine line between being, I guess, a victim or a victim mentality. I think the easier way of asking is, what do you want to say to people who have a victim mentality? People who have gone through something. You can call yourself a victim, that's fine. But you struggle with people who have a victim mentality when they wake up morning, noon, and night. What do you want to say to them? I feel like I have very little patience for it because of just my experience. So I think it is different from sometimes being like,
I wish this didn't happen in my life. Like, it just makes everything a little more difficult. And that's just kind of annoying. I think it's like, that's so real and that's such a human feeling. And like, that's okay. And just have that and let it pass through and, process that emotion. But I think, I don't know. I guess for me, like, God has such a big, like, purpose for your life. And I think you have to ask yourself, why do you think I'm here? Like, why do you think I'm here on this earth? Because I think that changes your perspective. And going through something so traumatic and life-threatening, it has just expanded my joy so much more and my capacity to handle harder things. And saying God has such a bigger story, I don't mean that to minimize your pain. Like, I feel like I've had to learn how to be really real with my pain and my feelings, because that's healthy to grieve and feel and all those things. But then to say, like, and don't even compare yourself with other people's stories and things like that, because that also can minimize what you've gone through. But just be real with what you've gone through and feel the pain, feel the feelings, but just realize also you can do something about it. And there's so much life ahead of you. So like, if you're, having constant health issues, but you're eating the same things every day that aren't good for you, like, you have the power to change that. Like, do some research on foods that will help you get the discipline to do those things. And a lot of that has to deal with kind of dealing with your own crap.
Mm-hmm. You're big on that. Mm-hmm. We always say this joke where we jokingly pretend that we're like a therapist or whatever. And you're like, all right, well, stop doing it.
Yeah.
Just stop.
Yeah.
Well, sometimes it's a little harder than just stopping. There are deeper things that you have to uncover. And I know there's that fine line of handling something with white gloves and then also babying a situation.
Yeah. I feel like, there is like, for instance, even after my accident, the hospital was babying me so much. And I was crying going in every day. And my dad's like, why are you so upset? So he came in with me and just noticed how it was. And he's like, I know you so well, and this is not for you. Like, you need to be challenged and like pushed and made uncomfortable to like really heal and get through. And I feel that way just with how we treat ourselves. I think it's so scary to face what you've been through and just how things have impacted you from your childhood, your past, whatever it might be. But when you do, which I feel like you've seen recently, it just frees you. And I even mean like emotions are attached to food, things you wouldn't think of that are like keeping you from changing your diet to become healthy. Probably has to do with emotion like locked in your body from a past trauma that used food to make you feel comfortable. And it's like, if you don't deal with those things, I just learned this so much through my accident, is like, that trauma lives in your body and your body remembers it. Even if you don't think you remember it, or even if you do remember it, it's like living in your body. So just really facing those things, it is scary, but it's like, I think the greatest gift in the world. Do you agree? I
agree. I think that's so well said. I am curious. I have 2 more questions for you as we wrap up. What do you miss most about your eye? Because I remember I don't know if I was afraid to ask you, but does it feel like, I know now, but in the beginning I was wondering, does it feel like you're just covering up one eye when you're driving? Because I tried this one time driving on the 405 and I'm like, this is terrifying right now. But it's not necessarily like that. It's almost like your eye shifts to the center of your head.
Yeah.
And you have decent peripheral vision, right?
Yeah, I remember they did a test on me at the hospital after my accident, and I kept being like, what are you guys doing? Like, what is this? And they were like, wow, okay, that's the blessing of being 23 and being in this accident, because my peripheral vision was like almost the same as when I had both eyes. So I feel like, I don't think I would know I had one eye unless someone told me. Like, if no one had told me, I don't know.
It's crazy how your body changes so much. Mm-hmm. You still have the blind spot, and I do kind of sneakily jump up behind you, and you'll be like working, and I'll be right here waiting for you. And I'm like, But that's just who you married. And I apologize if you don't like that. Are you cool with that?
Love it. I think it's so cute.
What do you think is one unhealthy identity that you had to give up to be free in who you are?
I think so. When I was growing up, I didn't focus much on like getting ready for school, doing my makeup. I didn't do that. I just kind of never wore makeup, kind of tousled hair, like beach vibes. And then after my accident, I realized I think I just really felt confident in who I was. And then on top of that, I feel like I would just get consistent compliments, which can sometimes make it worse for your like security. Because you're like, wow, I have to meet up to that level of like what people keep complimenting me on. It's like subconscious almost. So just getting rid of that as a part of my identity of just always wanting to be seen that way. Like always kind of, I don't know, like guys and girls or just whoever it was would compliment me or say I was cute or whatever. And you become so used to that, it kind of identifies part of the foundation of your identity. Which I really have had to grow out of. Like, I don't need that to be who I am. And just really becoming like, really accepting who you are as a person with all the changes.
Am I not complimenting you enough?
I feel like we had a conversation about that like a couple months ago. And I feel like you do a lot more now.
I wasn't, but I wasn't though.
Yeah.
And what are the things that mean the most to you? How can I'm apparently getting better at that, which I'm honestly trying, and it should be normal, but I think sometimes you get into kind of a routine and you're like, oh man, I got to be more expressive. It's just encouraging in general, your spouse, your friend, your partner, anybody.
Totally.
What would you like to hear more of? I know that's probably an odd question to ask. Tell me I'm pretty. It's not that, but it's more of.
No, like if you think something like it's cute, just feel like you look so
I feel like lately even yesterday you were in this like cute little blue number and I'm like, you look so cute.
Yeah, like
but
that.
I think I got away from that for a little bit. Yeah,
which is like totally fine. I feel like we get, in our lives and don't remember to always do that. And I never knew I really wanted that, needed that. And then I was like, wait, kind of like just for you to like be doing that. It just feels good.
That's cool. Well, you amaze me. I love you deeply. And I'm proud of you. Thanks. I just think that you are very, very special, and we take for granted everything that you've gone through. I would complain daily. I would be a nightmare. I would be a nervous wreck. And yet you hold yourself in just a different zone. And I think you're doing an incredible job. I think you're an incredible mom. And I think it's cool to see you out on the day-to-day with people who are just attached to how unique you are and your story, whether we're in Tennessee and we have those moments. When you go back to Dallas, you're like the mayor there. People come up to you all the time. Like you're the real deal in Dallas. And it's cool to see how your accident and your story has impacted many, many people. The Lauren Scruggs Kennedy Foundation is doing really cool work. Insurance doesn't cover prosthetics the way they should. They have these very demeaning looking hooks that, and they're expensive. These arms are anywhere from $30,000 to $50,000. And you have gifted so many to women, and you continue to do so. So check out the Lauren Scruggs Kennedy Foundation when you get a chance. And we appreciate you guys always taking the time to watch. Hopefully this helped you process your trauma, your insecurity. We're all doing it together. Next time, whether it's just you at coffee with a friend or a big group, dig into that kind of stuff. Use some of these tips. I love you to pieces. Don't forget to like the episode, subscribe, and we appreciate you guys. Thanks for watching.